Hey there, it's Robin, and you're listening to Healthy Habits for a Healthier Home. I'm here to help you create a healthier life, one simple shift at a time. If you're a mama ready to ditch toxins, clean up your family's nutrition, and build daily habits that support your well-being, you're definitely in the right place. Each episode is packed not only with education, but practical tips and tools to help you transform your health and your home without that feeling of overwhelm. So let's take this journey together to create a thriving, low-tox home for you and your family. If you're ready, say, I am ready. Now let's get into this episode.
Hey y'all, today we're going to be talking with Jodi. I'm super excited for you guys to get to know her. I'm super excited to learn from her, and I know that you're going to like some of the products that she has. So welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here with you.
We can just kind of start by you introducing how you stumbled upon the reason for creating your brand, because that's kind of what led me to you. So if you want to kind of tell the audience who you are and how you kind of got there, that's where we can start.
Absolutely. It's been quite a journey. So I have my master's in health psychology. I was pre-med, specialized in psychoneuroimmunology, and was training resident physicians on the biopsychosocial model. So what does that mean in practice? I was very passionate about improving the healthcare system. And rather than simply prescribing a medication, really taking the time to get to know the patient behind the curtain. What are some of the challenges that they may be having that could be an impediment to their recovery or the intervention that's being recommended? And psychoneuroimmunology is very much the relationship of your nervous system, your immune system, and your psychology, which fast forward to skincare has been a real full circle moment. And my sister is an herbalist and a midwife. And I was pregnant with my daughter and I got a cut. And I went to my first aid cabinet and I decided to look at the ingredients. And here I was living a very clean life. I was incredibly mindful about labels. And I acknowledged when I was looking at this, and I hadn't looked at it in a long time because I just assumed it was okay. I was like, why? Why do I think this is the only solution? I don't want to put this on me. Matter of fact, I don't want to put this on my daughter. And so I started sharing that conversation with my sister, and we found that we weren't alone. The natural consumer was willing to abandon their natural ethos because they were told these one-time chemical use products were the only solutions for getting the job done in first aid. And then we started digging in deeper and we found that chronic skin conditions are at an all-time high. And the conventional consumer was less concerned about the ingredients and more concerned about efficacy. Use 7 to 10 days. If symptoms persist, go see your physician. And that's inconvenient and it's frustrating. And more often than not, the symptoms persist. And we found it also peculiar that this mindset of if it doesn't sting, burn, or dry it out in that process, then it must not be working. And so, right?
And yeah, so true.
Yeah. And so as a family, we huddled up and my sister had these beautiful ideas with her herbal wisdom, me with my conventional Western medicine, organic chemistry background. And we said, let's make a plant-based solution that's first one, superior in efficacy. And oh, by the way, also has clean ingredients and sustainability. So Green Goo was born.
All right. So much to unpack there. First of all, I love your background. I'm very, very fascinated by the psycho part of all of this and the nervous system and things like that. And what kind of sparked that first thing for me is I am finding the more people that I interview start one place, which I feel like is not just people I interview, it's really people in life. They start one place thinking they're going this direction when God's just using that as a first step to introduce you to something to then take you to the next step of where you're going to better serve people. And so I believe that definitely was part of your journey. And I think all of the wisdom and all the things that you learned in the conventional side of things are necessary, needed, and was that first stepping stone for you. But then realizing that there's something on the other side, right? That we're not talking about, that we're not being told. And my situation started with my kids. Probably started with myself. I just didn't recognize it. But then when you have kids, like you said, something switches inside of a mom and it's like, okay, what am I actually doing here? Because I'm not just affecting myself, now I'm affecting another being and I'm solely responsible for this being's life. And so eczema was something that we began with, skin conditions, things like that. And you are so right. Like you go to the doctor and it's like, try this steroid cream, try this, try. I'm like, okay, but they're toxic. They're not working. I mean, they're not getting to the root cause. So my last straw was basically when our pediatrician had told me she had like a virus or something at the same time that she had an eczema flare. And he told me to put her in the bathtub with like a little cap full of bleach. And I literally was like, are you kidding me right now? Like, do you even know me? Like, have you met me for 10 seconds? I don't even put bleach on my clothes. I'm like, so I said, let me ask you a question. I said, you're telling me to do this to my child, my small child, who is in an eczema flare, who, even if she wasn't, I wouldn't do it. You're going to put that in her body, on her body, into her skin. I said, yeah. I said, we're done. Basically, I was like, we're divorcing and I'm leaving your practice. And I didn't, I only went back one time just to show him something that had actually healed her, because I'm like, again, they're not aware until they're aware. So that when you were talking, it's like we are conditioned, we are told a story, we are indoctrinated with whatever people want to tell us, and then we are now waking up to the decision that does that feel right to us? And we are knowledgeable, right? Moms are like crazy detectives. We will not let anything happen to our children if at all possible. We're the best people to do this work, I feel like. Why are we putting stuff on our kids? It just doesn't make sense. So I am super excited about where you started and kind of where you and your sister ended up. And I think it's a beautiful pairing. So tell us more about your product and why you put the things in it you did for the healing purposes, but also for the clean purposes.
I just want to like drink up all the things you just said in terms of, life happens for you in terms of lining you up for the things to come and the mama bears in all of us, and that we're going to be a part of this movement. And bless your heart with the eczema. We'll share some eczema stories as we continue this conversation. And it's heartbreaking to think of some more of those agitations happening in terms of skin barrier and just making things worse. And I'll also add too, I think no one initially intended to hurt anyone with these man-made chemicals. They were really a part of the Industrial Revolution. It was the first time we were able to mass produce consumer goods for people, and we didn't have the infrastructure, the technology, the transportation that we have today. And there was this idea that more value meant more volume. So let's just fill it in with a bunch of stuff. And it might be 3 years before it gets to someone's home. So we need to make sure that there's just every little stabilizer in there. And of course, today is just a different time. And we have the data, we have the science to support why these ingredients are harmful. There is no longer a question of if they are harmful, they are. So what do we do with that information?
Yeah, I
But
love
thank
that.
you.
And I do agree with you. I don't think the majority of people I don't think anybody really starts with an intent to harm. What I have found frustrating as a mom and as a person who was unaware at the beginning of my journey, you assume if something is in the marketplace, you assume if it's sitting on a shelf that we have these systems governmentally in place, locally in place. We have people that are supposed to be overseeing these things. So as a person walking into a store, whether it's conventional or, not, or we just assume, right? We assume somebody's done the research. Why would you put a product on the shelf that has an endocrine disruptor in it? I mean, how is that? And if you don't know that that's what you're putting in your product, shame on you for not doing your research and coming to a scientist, coming to an herbalist, coming to people who actually have that background. And again, what I've learned through my 20 plus years at this point is that even today in manufacturing, some things don't have to even get put on the label. If it's just a smidge,
Oh,
that is greenwashing to me. That is not informed consent. That is selling me something that I don't have the control to make the right decision if I don't know what's in it. So
Amen.
I just wanted to say really quick, because we're talking about skin. Skin is your largest organ. So for those listening, anything that you put topically on your body goes directly into your bloodstream. So you might not have to process it through your liver and all of that, but if you have eczema, if you have any kind of dry skin or anything, it's got a faster absorption rate because you're not only going through the barrier skin, it's open. So it's like a free for all. So that's why when we're talking about chemicals that are harmful, people might have this, thought of like, well, we're not swallowing it, we're just putting it on our skin. Well, your skin goes directly into your bloodstream. So we need to be aware of these things. Okay, keep going.
So true. And I'll just add a little dovetail to
Yes,
that real quick. And, our skin is our largest organ. It is this breathable organ. It comes from the same embryonic tissue as our nervous system. It is rich in neurotransmitters. And it's very connected to our immune system and our psychology and mindset. So when you think about when you're stressing your skin out with chemicals, then your nervous system increases cortisol, your immune system flares up, and then all of a sudden you don't have clarity and you feel groggy and you're like, why do I feel anxious or depressed? All of that is connected and those chemicals compound. And so I really like to bring that awareness of how connected those systems are and why it's so important to avoid those ingredients and think about the skin as a nutritional opportunity where you can be adding value, because what we're doing today is we're swimming upstream. We're swimming against the current by compounding with all of these chemicals, and then our body becomes in overdrive. And again, it continues to compound. So if you can reverse that story and you're doing nutritional skincare and you compound that is then stimulating what the body knows how to do while removing some of those challenges. Now you're swimming with the current. Now your body's in a really great state. And a doctor sure as heck likes to work on a healthy patient. Like if you come to you now have a medical crisis and the patient who is healthier recovers better. And so this is also setting you up for success for the if or when you've got to have a more major medical intervention. So anyways, back to the ingredients. I just
No, no, no.
got excited.
I'm so glad that you paused and said all of that. And if you could repeat that, because I really think it's extremely profound and it is not something that is talked about a lot, the interconnectedness of your nervous system with your skin and the psychology. If you could just reiterate that one more time, because that's how profound I actually think it is. And I think people
Yes.
are really not hearing that.
Your skin is born from the same tissue that your nervous system was born from, the same embryonic tissue, and it is rich in neurotransmitters, and it is your first line of defense.
So your
So
skin has neurotransmitters?
yes,
Interesting.
and
Okay.
it's rich in this, so it's communicating with the rest of your body. And so, I mean, it's been really fun to see now, like the Journal of Behavioral Medicine is partnering with the Journal of Dermatology, and they're doing studies to show that simple acts of mindfulness and meditation throughout the day is actually lowering cortisol, reducing inflammation, and people who have severe eczema, they're seeing visible signs of improvement. And so it's really starting to bridge the data of how interconnected our system is. And so as simple as you're scrolling too much on your phone, you're actually impacting your skin. I mean, it's a very interesting connection. And so
That is.
here we are putting these endocrine disruptors, phthalates, paraben, petroleum, and it is making our skin work harder. So now we're already in this like state of fight or flight, and then the rest of the systems get challenged and compromised. And there's the science to support where the inflammation goes up, the cortisol goes up, and then how that impacts your serotonin, your melatonin, your dopamine. And you think about it, when you're inflamed, you feel groggy. And you're just like, oh, I just don't have that clarity. And so inviting your skin is a form of nutritional opportunity. Like we started to reinvent first aid, and that was our number one goal and still is. But in that is the education and the information around what role your skin plays in your wellness journey and to be more empowered, why it's important to remove those ingredients. If you just start there, just in terms of removing those ingredients, you're already helping balance your body so that you can then be in a more optimal state, homeostasis in performance. And again, always use that analogy of swimming upstream or swimming with the current.
Yeah, I love that. And when you were talking about that, what I'm hearing you saying is something we kind of know is that we're holistic beings, so everything is interconnected, and that is the difference I do believe from holistic to conventional is like everything's very subbed out. You know, we go here for this, dermatology only. Well, it all has to go together. You can't just see a dermatologist. You also have to address your gut. You also have to address your skin. And your skin, to me, has always been a reflection of your internal. So if your skin's a mess, if you have acne, if you have psoriasis, if you have eczema, what I learned about eczema is a lot of it's internal. Like, and it just kind of expresses itself because our body gives us signals and we tend to not understand that that's what it's doing, and so we're not listening to what the body's trying to tell us about our health. We're just thinking it's a condition and we have to just slap stuff on it to fix that. So I love that so much. So one of the things that I was reading when I was researching you was the ingredients that you do put in your product, and I think that I want to go there because we do talk a lot about what to get rid of, right? And you named a lot of them. And the other one that wasn't mentioned yet is fragrance. And my community knows I'm like big on, you see that, it's just a hard no. It's like you can scan super quick for like 4 things. If you see any of those 4 things, who cares about the rest? Because you know just from those 4 things, it's a no-go. So let's flip that and what are some of the ingredients that you find to be more nourishing that you
Oh, love the ingredients. And so there's a number of them. And I'm going to share the process along with the ingredients, why green goo works. And I think to add to some of that previous misconception of natural and plant-based is, well, natural and plant-based must not work as well. And the reason is most of the time, what you have seen on the market has been an isolate, back to that like pillar,
Mhm.
or a synthetic version of the plant, or a very compromised version of the plant. It was exposed to high heat or a chemical that did not protect the integrity of the plant and therefore is not giving you the medicinal profile. And then it's mixed with a emollient or a paraben and a petroleum that makes it just sit on the surface of the skin. So you're not getting the semi-permeable membrane of those herbs going in and giving you that systemic reaction and going through those epidermal layers. And so what I love is when we first started Green Goo, we were literally farming and making the herbs, growing the herbs in our backyard, drying them on old screen doors on our front porch. I'm sure people were like, what is happening in that home? And and then these big vats to infuse, and then taking it through this infusion process that protects the integrity of the plant, yields the highest amount of the medicinal properties from these plants. And then those custom unique oils go into the formulas with lipid friendly oils and beeswax that really complement the microbiome and the semi-permeable membrane to absorb those herbs. And today, we still do that same process. We bring the fresh plants to our manufacturing facility and take it through that very special infusion process that protects that integrity. And so the plants across the board, I mean, calendula is our favorite plant. It's identified with the FDA as an astringent. And let me also add, because botanical research has advanced so much, we are now have Green Goo registered with the FDA. And the FDA is recognizing herbs as having active ingredients. And then those herbs that they haven't yet touched are in the inactive ingredients on our labels. And back to your earlier point, you see this more in the OTC market than anywhere else. There's lots of ingredients that aren't being disclosed because there's such a minute amount. They're able to not do that. And so for us, it's full transparency. Every ingredient is in there, active or inactive. But what I also love about calendula, it's antifungal, anti-yeast, antimicrobial. It has been shown to improve tissue repair, add hydration. It even has a little SPF in it, which is kind of fun. Some new botanical research just came out around calendula that so there is the end caps of your DNA or your telomeres, and you can measure your longevity based on your telomeres, and they start to degrade as we go through life and time and stress and so forth. And then your DNA unravels, and that's where some of that exposure can come in. Well, they just identified there's an enzyme in your epidermal layer that can stimulate the regeneration of your telomeres. And they have found that calendula is a plant that actually stimulates the enzyme. And so we're starting to just see more research, and it's really just because after COVID, we started to see more funds being allocated to botanical research because we've known, I mean, this is ancient wisdom that has been around for a very long time. We're just bringing forward an old process, but there wasn't the pharmaceutical funding that we have in the botanical world. And of course, now, thankfully, we're starting to see some investments in that area. And then combined with how we process the herbs and how we choose the herbs, it's also how they work together, back to that holistic concept. So, plantain alone, we call it nature's Band-Aid. And bring that with some yarrow, some plantain, and calendula. Now we're increasing oxygen to the wound site. We're bringing a component where it calms the system. And then we're also bringing tissue repair. And so when you bring those herbs together, all of a sudden you've got a very productive activity into where the wound site is. Our Green Goo First Aid is our Swiss Army knife for first aid. It's not just a topical antiseptic, but it is your first aid kit in one little tin. And we thought, well, how fun would it be? Because when you look at the first aid and your first aid cabinet, you have all this one-time use, never get through it, gets in the garbage. And what we identified is people need wound care, but they also want to take the sting and the itch out. So whether it's a scrape, take the sting out, a bug bite, a bee sting, a cold sore, slow down the bleeding, speed up the healing. And so that's what our Green Goo First Aid does. And it's so great because you can give it to your kiddos when they have that Band-Aid moment and they need, we call it the goo goo for their boo-boo. They like that it actually takes the sting and the itch out and it slows down the bleeding. You can give it to your pets. There's no neomycin in, which they found that 25% of the population has an allergic reaction to neomycin, and it's toxic for dogs. And so it's a very utilitarian alternative where you can not only clean out your cabinet, but then you can actually have something portable with you that you find that you use all the time. Poison ivy, bee stings, cold sores, chafing, ingrown toenails. The list goes on and on when you think about taking the sting and the itch out. And why we choose these herbs is we started looking at, okay, so much of the OTC is like treat the symptom, right? Whatever that problem is. And instead, we looked at what herbs stimulate the body to do the thing that it's doing to recover. When you have a cold sore and when you have a blister, your body's actually doing a lot of the same things. So if we can identify the herbs that help take down that swelling, take a little bit of that pain out, and improve oxygen and blood flow to create like tissue repair, then you can actually have a very versatile solution.
Love all that. I mean, you just said a lot that I'm just my mind's like, whoa, this is amazing. So one thing I want to talk about, because this is kind of a kickback I tend to get that I always have to come, figure out language to come back is, and I don't even know how much your product is, but that's so expensive. And I'm like, okay, it might be a little bit more than your traditional over the counter, but when you get to throw out $50 worth of stuff that you, like you said, just have sitting there that never ever gets used, that doesn't really do what your product can do. It's like we've been again conditioned. You have to have this product for an itch, this product for a burn, this product for and it's like not true, right? But one product doesn't make as much money as four products being sold. So again, we have to retrain our mindset and retrain the way we look at things money wise when something does cost a little more because of the small batch, because of the integrity, because of the actual ingredients being used. There is a reason why some things are cheaper. doesn't mean they're necessarily not clean and harmful, but you have to kind of start to educate yourself to make the best choices for your family's health. And then how does that look? And so that's just my little spiel for everybody listening. But I think it's so important that we rewire that for people. It's the same with cleaning products. It's the same with personal care products. We think we need 52 different things under our cabinet when in actuality, you don't. And I love that you're bringing back ancient things, ingredients and plants and herbs, because long before there was over the counter, long before there was prescriptions, and there's places for all of that stuff, this is what people use to heal. And what I love about your product that you just said is that you're helping your body to repair itself. So you're signaling to your body, let's do what our body was made to do, rather than here's this I'm going to slap on top. You're no longer functioning to heal your own body. We're just kind of masking and covering it. And if anybody's ever gotten paper cut or gotten a very small cut and hasn't addressed it, if you watch it over the days, you actually see your skin healing. Like our bodies are designed to heal if we're given the right environment, if we're given the right tools. It's not just a first aid. It goes so much beyond that. So
I love all of that. And I think to come back to the pricing, excuse me, the pricing is that a couple of different things. One, per ounce, it's actually very comparable to a traditional OTC product. However, and we started making some smaller sizes just so people could experience what it's like to be able to introduce it into your home and then see, to your point, the return on investment where suddenly you're spending less without having all of these other products, and you're actually using this one in a much more productive way. And then we've continued to change our model. And one of the things was, for example, today, right now, the cost to make these products is significantly more than it was 10 years ago, and importing and so forth. And what we did is we changed our model. And a lot of companies today ended up changing their ingredients because they needed to fit so that it, had that price point on the shelf. And we said, you know what? We're just going to adjust who we do business with so we can continue to bring that price point to a place that's attainable, because number one is protecting the integrity of the process and the ingredients themselves. And
love that.
yeah, so
I love that. And I think, for people who are listening, this to me personally is the difference between big companies and smaller companies. And I think obviously every company's mission is to always grow because that's why you're in business. And I totally understand that, support that. But there is a way to do it with integrity, right? There is a way to keep it with the first mission. And what I have seen over the years is just the sellout process. So I always encourage my listeners and my community that you always have to read the ingredients, because you just never know who bought out who, when. I mean, you're not really looking into that, but how you can tell is if your ingredients change. And if your ingredients change to cheaper ingredients, you know that something has been altered. So again, I appreciate companies like yours because I know it's coming from a heartfelt place of wanting to help and creating something with integrity, and the value behind it speaks for itself.
thank you. And the
So,
joy that we get for protecting it is so well worth it. I mean, an example, you talked about eczema. We had a customer that came to us a handful of weeks ago, and for the last year, she's had an eczema breakout. Her daughter, who's about 5 or 6 years old, that they just could not get under control. They've done a year of steroids, over the counter prescription. And she's like, and if you're someone suffering from eczema, you know what I'm saying when at night they're not sleeping. She's like, we're not sleeping at all because the noise goes away and all you can feel is that itching and burning. And clothes are no fun because when you have clothing that's rubbing up against it. And she's like, I'm coming to you as a last ditch effort. One, I don't use natural products, never been interested in them. I don't think they work, but I heard through the grapevine that you guys may have a solution. So I'm willing to give it a try. So I'm coming in with very low expectations, but my daughter hasn't smiled in a year, and neither, I'm not feeling that way either. And I said, okay, let's take some pictures. Because everyone like represents themselves with eczema in a little bit different way. So we can tailor a regimen based on that. And so picture number one, right before she started. And the last step is using the skin repair. Once the inflammation is calmed down and the wounds are starting to close, then you can use the skin repair to hydrate, help with scarring, and just really rebuild that skin barrier. So you want to continuously, the same way you remove chemicals because they compound, you also want to keep nourishing your skin so that compounds really rebuild. And she showed us the pictures at 2 weeks, and she's like, we're already at the skin repair. She goes, I cannot believe that in 2 weeks we got these results and we've been waiting a whole year. She's like, my daughter's smiling for the first time. And I'm like, and that's why we fight the good fight. This is because these solutions are available and you do get the results. And oh, by the way, it's also doing good for your body.
Right. That's amazing. I love that. Okay, so I heard you say skin repair. So do you have more than one product?
We do.
Okay,
And the
so what?
skin repair, I'll add too, as long as we're talking about, it, is
Mhm.
probably your health and beauty Swiss Army knife. So I love how you described you don't need to have all of these products. So the skin repair started out as an afterburn scarring repair formula, very much like a Moderna, if you will. And what it evolved into is your health and beauty head to toe lotion alternative anti-aging, which I like to say age well solution. So you can, we call it butter up from head to toe, sanctuary Sunday, every Sunday, just like salve up and let your skin drink it up. Put your bathrobe on for like 30 minutes and have an intentional moment. You know, sit and read a book, I visit with my daughter, listen to the birds, sit outside for a minute, and then get dressed for the day after that. And I live in a very arid location where I was putting on lotion multiple times throughout the day. I only have to do this like twice a week, head to toe, and my skin is completely nourished. And then I put it on my face every night before I go to bed. And it's the most low maintenance beauty care that I've ever encountered. And back to that notion, I don't have all these tubs of lotion everywhere. You know, I don't have to worry about are there fragrances in here that I don't want. It's just fantastic. So we have the first aid, which is your first aid kit on the go, repair, which is your health and beauty replacement. And then we have our dry skin formula, which was very much designed specifically for eczema and psoriasis. John Hopkins has been using this in their scleroderma and skin condition department for over a decade. And it is phenomenal. And what's interesting is there are some herbs in there that are specifically designed to calm your nervous system down while also treating the inflammation that's actually happening in the surface of the skin and the various epidermal layers. And then we've got our pain relief product, which is your analgesic. And what I love about this solution is one, it's wonderful for, workout recovery and injuries, but I also use it to manage my inflammation as a means for that holistic, all the systems working with each other way. Because when you're inflamed, it obviously stimulates your other systems and it keeps your system calm. So sometimes on a Sunday, I'll do the pain relief for my sanctuary Sunday instead of the repair because I'm still getting the moisturizing component, but I'm getting the anti-inflammatory. And truly, one of the moments that really helped me identify that connection was we had Jane Doe number one, who was the first person pulled from the World Trade Center, and she sustained horrible injuries and then ultimately became addicted to opioids. And so she reached out to us, and our pain relief formula was the only thing that was helping her as she was reducing her dosages going through the opioid withdrawal. And she would have these horrible seizures, and it would calm her system, calm the muscles, and help her stay in a mindset where she could keep lowering the dose. And she's like, this is the one thing that's working for me. And it really helped give some insight to that deep connection as well. And she became opioid free and she's doing great.
That's amazing.
um, and so I always really encourage people go get that first aid bundle and then you can just replace your first aid cabinet. And we have a number of other products, and I will highlight one just for the transdermal education,
Hmm.
which is when we were developing our deodorant. Obviously, we talk a lot about what to avoid, what to subtract. And We all know our armpit is this very interesting tissue, and it's close to our lymphatic system. And what we know today in terms of transdermal absorption is it absorbs about 70% of what you put in there. So that is an important note in terms of what not to put in there. But then looking at nutritional skincare, my sister and I were like, well, let's put more vitamins and herbs in our deodorant. So we have like ashwagandha, holy basil, functional mushrooms, echinacea, ginkgo biloba, vitamin C, because why not? Let's make it. And it's very interesting that when you put something in your armpit that like your skin actually likes, this whole thing changes. Like
Hmm.
it's a different system. And so yeah, the deodorant's pretty
Interesting.
fun.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I, to be honest, I mean, I will definitely try it, but I haven't worn deodorant in a lot of years because I just kind of detoxed myself off of it. And um, I don't know. I guess
Right.
just having a
Because you
pretty healthy
can.
lifestyle, and right, I just don't have the need for it. But I do have two daughters who, just have that. I need it. It's like, okay, but do we need it? And so I'm always looking for, clean, but I would like clean. And if we can step it up and provide more nutrients, then I think that's a wonderful thing. It's super interesting that we have very few companies that have traced back like the old wisdom, right? Traced back what our ancestors did. And again, I'm not knocking what's happening today, but we should kind of take a look backwards. Well, I am kind of knocking some of the things because I think some of the things are born out of just let's create a product and sell. And I think we really need to back up and look at what our ancestors were doing. And let's take some of that wisdom and bring it forward to today, with the technology we have, with all of the capabilities we have that they didn't have. We can really create some beautiful products like you have done. And so, again, I appreciate your background, but I also appreciate your forward thinking because we need more companies like this. We need companies doing better. And I have a question for you because you said calendula. Is that calendula?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I was like, I think it is, but I just want to make sure because that is the actual ingredient that did heal my child. Diaper rashes, anything that was skin oriented, that is the one thing. And when we had gone to that pediatrician and he told me this particular virus um, on her stomach almost made like a Christmas tree shape, and he named it something. And he said it'll be like 8 weeks before. And I'm just like, no, like this is just not. And so when I started, I'm like, I'm just going to try the diaper cream. I'm just going to try. I'm going to put it on. I'm going to see. And within 2 weeks, there was a couple of other things in there, but within 2 weeks, it was fading. And so I did go back and I said, I just want to show you what's possible using something non-traditional. And he couldn't believe it. He brought the other doctor in and they were just like, and I didn't do it to be like, hi, in your face. I'm like doing it because I didn't know either. I just experimented with something I knew was safe and you should know about it because what if you could help somebody else? So we have a long way to go in the transformation of the thinking process. I love that ingredient. So having that in there, I could see why it would be healing. I can see why it's a good first aid. I can see all of that. One of the
Magical
things
plant.
it really is plantain. So what does that do? I'm just curious. Like, what does that do for our body?
Well, it's interesting because it's a weed that a lot of people just step over all the time.
Okay.
And it is what we call nature's Band-Aid. And so a lot of times back in the ancient times, they would just put plantain over a wound and it would help coagulate and then
Hmm.
bring oxygen to the wound site. And so it was the version of wound care that they knew in sort of that traditional sense. And then, of course, combining it with the other herbs just really elevates its productivity.
So it's a
And
good swap for like what do they call it? Liquid Band-Aid, basically, where so
yes,
again, I like to bring that up because, in my community of moms and women who are trying to do better, we're always talking about swaps. And so knowing your ingredient and knowing what its possibilities are is what's going to help you get that swap. So I just that's why I wanted to point out the liquid Band-Aid because
yep.
that's kind of what it sounds like.
And it's interesting too, because like I'll give another example. In our first aid formula, there's St. John's wort. And oftentimes people associate St. John's wort as, helping with mood and depression. Well, what's interesting when it's topical, it's actually an analgesic.
Wow.
It helps bring the pain down and inflammation. And so it's fun to think about how those systems are combined in that way. And I'll share too. So our mission is spread goodness, and it's not just spreading good products on your body. It's really a culture, like do good to yourself and to the people around you. But our vision is bringing forward time-honored traditions. And one of those is obviously protecting the integrity of the process and bringing these herbs forward. But it's also being here with you and storytelling, because it is these kinds of stories that shift the narrative back to why we don't need these ingredients. And this was the story that we knew. We were just all excited about the Industrial Revolution, and it was just a part of this story. And now it's bringing forward that ancient wisdom. And I love how you framed it with modern technology and data to support how we can really enrich our wellness journey and our longevity and our health while we're here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our motto is everything can be transformed with 1% shifts. And so we just have to take the little tiny steps. Convenience is a big thing. And I understand that from a perspective of being a busy mom, having, you know, a lot of chaos, if you will, between just life, right? And working and having kids and managing their sports and all of the things. And so I know that's also something like I don't have time. I don't have time to sit and educate myself right now. And that's why I love this podcast, because a lot of people will listen while they're walking, or they'll listen while they're cleaning or doing something. And it's like, if you can listen to one episode of something a day, you're transforming, right? You're just very small, and it's not overwhelming because it's just one thought, right? Just one topic, one thought for yourself. For people to purchase, are you guys just online? Have you migrated into any of like stores? Because I know that's a big question that I get often. Where can I get it?
Mostly the website, so greengoo.com and Amazon. That's where you can get the breath.
Well,
And that's
Amazon is
the way to
almost
go.
one of the fastest ways to get anything these days. I love that. And I always caution people on Amazon, making sure that you're going to your exact store, making sure it's from you guys, not from another third party. So just make sure that you're actually going straight to their website store on Amazon in order to get it. So, all right. Before we end, is there anything you want to add?
I would love to add to your 1% transformation and offer a little hack to the listeners,
Sure.
if you don't
Absolutely.
mind.
Absolutely.
So I know it can be incredibly overwhelming thinking about what not to do and what to do. And I have a 14-year-old daughter who's obviously got peer pressure, inundated by all the things. And we use this acronym at home to help it be our North Star. And it's just like a little whisper angel on your shoulder guiding you throughout the day. And it doesn't feel like a lot of pressure. So the acronym is SHAMAN. S is for sleep, adding to the sleep bank. And we look at it as a bank, and you can pull from it for so much, but then you need to add back to it. And that's great for teenagers in terms of them connecting their like where their head is at and have they had enough sleep. H is hydration. We are water. And it is incredibly important to nourish our system with water. And it's not just drinking water. It's what things are not serving us to give us water. Foods have water, different kinds of vegetables and fruits and fibers, skincare, thinking about the skincare that's pulling water out or the ones that are adding to it. And it just kind of just gives you little friendly reminders throughout the day. A is antioxidants. And that I just appreciate from a nutritional standpoint. Like you open up the fridge, what's the thing that's going to give me some antioxidants? And that's great for my daughter when she's thinking about ordering from Grubhub or whatever, thinking about
Yeah.
like which choices do I want to make? And sometimes it's a yes and I'm going to have the chips and the carrots, but it at least invited some antioxidants, something that's going to nourish you. M is mindfulness. And I think we often think that if we don't meditate for 2 hours, we're not getting the benefits of mindfulness. Mindfulness is just a shift And you don't have to stop, busy moms. You can literally just shift your perspective for 30 seconds to 2 minutes and do that throughout the day. Feel your feet on the floor and just focus on your feet on the floor. Give yourself a couple times where you just take a couple deep breaths. Go look at the clouds for 30 seconds while you're sitting and waiting for your child when you're picking him up. Put the phone down. Just have a moment where you have a nervous system moment where you're hearing, touching, smelling, feeling, or I said feeling,
Tasty.
hearing, like, and just take 30 seconds to 2 minutes. And you do that throughout the day, you will have a compounding effect on calming your nervous system and getting present. And then the next A is avoid. And this is just permission. I think, especially as women, parents, we want to do it all and avoid the ingredients. You know, we've really underscored that. Like, if you can't invite all of the nutritional habits, just start avoiding the things that in certain ingredients you just avoid. But it also could be people and situations, because when you preserve your energy and you invite that to yourself, all of a sudden you like have a more expansive space. You have more ammunition, if you will, to go do the things. And then N is nature, because just a little bit of nature goes a long ways with our systems. And for my daughter, this is a great one when she's like, am I going to scroll for 10 minutes or maybe I'm going to go outside for 10 minutes? And so really give yourself opportunities, and you don't have to, spend a lot of time, but just a little bit. And what I love about shaman too is it's equitable. Most of this is free. It's just a matter of a choice.
Yes.
And it makes a really great difference in your day to day.
Yeah. First of all, that's amazing. And I love that you are having your daughter already kind of implementing these things and thinking about it, because as a parent, something I have learned now, having both of my children out of the house, 22 and 19, kind of adults, trying to figure out adulting, all of the things, college things. When they're in your home, when they're under our roof, we as moms can provide, and we will provide once we flip our minds, right? We do take that pause, we become more mindful, we make those choices, we help them to avoid, we help them do these things, implement hydration, like we're helping them to do that. And you think they understand it because they're doing it and they're living with you. And then that step into college where you're no longer in the safety bubble, if you will. There's still stuff they navigate. You said peer pressure, it's everywhere. It still exists while they're at home. But the struggle is real when they get into college and they are surrounded by 10 plus times more noise than what they currently were in. They're also trying to navigate life, right? They're trying to figure out how to live on their own, how to go to the grocery store becomes this huge, this is so overwhelming, right? And I'm like, just stick to what you know, right? Stick to the perimeter, stick to the things that brands that that we have in our house. It's like next level. And so you have to, nobody's perfect, and it is a learning curve, and they do have to learn and figure it out. But as a parent, to watch the stumbling that happens through that process is a killer, because we know better, and we want them to have better and know better. But these practices that, the shaman, the tips, the habits, they are things that when we instill these things at a younger age and they become habitual and they're just something you learn, you just do, when the noise happens, if you're already doing mindfulness, when that overwhelm comes, you can pause for that second and you can use your five senses, and you can go out in nature when the chaos, the noise of what all these other kids are doing is just kind of overwhelming. So arming the kids with these tools is a beautiful thing, but also moms need it. Moms who didn't grow up with moms like us, right? And our moms did the best they could, but we didn't grow up, or at least I did not, in a family where we talked about these things. I mean, it was like, yeah, get sleep, you need sleep, but there was no explanation. It was just like, you're young, you got to go to bed. It was just a different time. But we didn't talk about mindfulness. We didn't talk about avoiding ingredients because we just didn't know. But I will say, we also didn't use as many products. It was a different time, and now we're just inundated by this product for this product for this. It's like all of the smells and this, it's like, ugh. And you're talking about nervous system overwhelm. You walk into somebody's home or somebody's apartment or somebody, and it's like all the fragrances and all the smells, and it's like if you have been somebody who's stepped out of that a little bit, when you go back into it, you're like, whoa, like, and your body, you can feel like oh my gosh, this is crazy. I absolutely love that you shared that because I think it's simple. Like you said, it's free. And it's something that today, if you're listening, tomorrow, if you're listening, you can walk away with it, apply this for the week. Pick one of them. You don't have to pick all of them, but just know they're all available because I think being available is what we need to remember. Because when you're ready, they're there. But mindset comes first with all of this. You have to make a mind choice that you want to treat your body like the vessel that it is. And once you make up your mind about that, then things start to naturally flow and there's less resistance in making some of the changes. So thank you so much. That was a beautiful share. I love it.
Thank you.
So what do you do for yourself? Just a couple of non-negotiables on a daily that you have grown into, practices, habits, whatever you want to call them, that help you to live your most healthiest life, but in a way that allows you to do your work, to be a mom, to show up in your best version.
My three P's, back to like my little North Stars. Mine are plants, purpose, and presence.
Ooh,
And those really help me throughout the day. So when I wake up, I like to put my feet on the ground, watch the sun come up or the horizon, and just give myself a few minutes to just get present for the day. And I'm really intentional with that. Don't pick up my phone. I don't let that nervous system jolt so that I can ease my way into the day. And I do those little presence exercises, like as simple as I'm washing my hands and I want to wash them really fast and I feel that rush happening. I just feel the water on my hands and give myself that minute. So it's not necessarily stopping so much, but it's just reframing as I'm doing it. And that gives me a lot of value. And I think, what I'm doing with Green Goo and being in this seat just gives me the purpose every day and parenting and partnering and being present with all of that and being very intentional. And then of course plants. If I could turn my camera around, there's plants all around me. And I just spend a lot of time with my plants, whether it's inside, outside in nature, making sure I get those nature moments and finding those plants that I can ingest and put on my skin throughout the day. They just really serve me well.
yeah. And if you're somebody listening, plants are not just plants. They really are living things. They really do nourish your air in your house. I mean, besides the medicinal portions of it, there's air quality, there's happiness, there's joy that gets brought in by plants. So if you look around your house and you don't have a plant and you're looking to do something fun for yourself, buy a plant. It does change your life. Put it on your desk when you're working. Talk to it. It really, I can't describe the joy that it can bring you if you allow it. And I just think we forget. We forget the simplicity of what can create joy for us. I love your three Ps. Having a purpose is one of the greatest gifts, that God has provided for us, is giving each of us a purpose and the adventure we get to go on to figure out what that purpose is. And that might change throughout your time, right? But it's never not interconnected in some way. So I guess, pausing and seeing that. The other thing that I really wanted to come back to was your washing of the hands and the rushing, and then I visually can see you slowing down. The tasks of mindfulness isn't supposed to be an additional thing that you're adding to your plate. It is doing it with a habit that you're already doing it, which everybody washes their hands, everybody drives and stops at a stoplight. It's not like you have to everybody, get on my way. I got to go to my room and be 5 minutes by myself. It's like, these are supposed to be things that you kind of just weave throughout your day because that's where you're going to get the most benefit. So I love the visual of the washing of the hands. I can see the water and all of that. So thank you for sharing all of that. Thank you for creating such an amazing product. I am super excited to try it. For those people looking to try it, where I will put all this in the show notes in case you're walking or driving, don't freak out that you need to write it down. Where can they find you guys?
Yeah, greengoo.com.
Okay. And
Yep.
Instagram too, same
Yep,
handle.
the Green Goo helps on all of our socials.
Green Goo helps. Okay, perfect. So everybody can, if nothing else, go follow them, start listening. I think sometimes we need to hear things more than once for our brains to kind of catch up. And then go to their website and check them out. And then I'm going to purchase some of the things and then I'll give you guys my review as I kind of work through things. But I can already envision like the first aid for each of my kids, because again, little space when you live in college, but one product they can throw in their backpack, throw in their bag, and just know at all times it's the go-to thing. Thank you so much for your wisdom, but most importantly, thank you for your story. I think your story matters and it's a beautiful story. Thank you very much. And thank you guys for listening. If you love this episode, please share it with another mom, because as we are journeying through this motherhood chapter, there is quite a lot that is thrown at us. And if we find something that resonates with us, it's going to resonate with somebody else. So share this episode, review it so that it pops up when people are looking for different topics. That's why people go to podcasts. So thank you so much again for coming on, and I will see you guys next week.
That episode had so many great takeaways. I hope you feel inspired and more empowered to make small 1% shifts on your wellness journey this week. I'd love to hear what resonated with you. If you want to leave a review, share your thoughts, and let me know how you're going to be implementing these 1% shifts into your life. And don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with another mama who could use a little wellness love. Want to stay connected? Join me on Instagram and Facebook at Live Life Balanced with Robin. Check out my website at livelifebalancedwithrobin.com for more resources, and grab yourself some freebies while you're there. Until next time, I hope you find peace, love, and light by breathing, being present, and allowing for all possibilities to come your way. See y'all next week. Love to y'all.